All right, 5th grade, here we are. Happy Thursday. We are going to finish our part 2 of our 13 Colonies project rough draft today. All right, so for the work today, make sure that you go back, you go to Tuesday, January 19th, click on that. Make sure that you have clicked on the research. I know that we did this research on Tuesday. If you have not finished that research, make sure that is done first. Okay. Now, today what's going to be happening with my rough draft that I'm doing with you, I will be kind of looking up some things because obviously for my Tuesday I didn't write anything down. So there'll be a few things that I have to look up. You should already have this information on your Tuesday assignment. Okay. All right. So we will start with slide number 4, question number 4. All right. So question number 4 is, what were a few Native American tribes in or around your colony? All right. So for me, I picked New York. And so I will say Native American tribes in New York. Okay. So on this slide here, like we said yesterday too, like I know that you want to make sure that your slides are not boring, right? But you also want to make sure that they are easily read. Because if you look at our rubric here, that's the biggest thing, right? They're easy to read and there are 5 pictures. All right, so for today, you can change this whatever you want. If you want to do a different background, if you want to do a different theme, it's up to you. How you want to do the background for that too. Okay. So first, Native American tribes in New York. We're going to start with that. All right. So Native American tribes in New York. I found these 4 here, so I'm going to put those into my slide. Now remember, the most important thing about all these slides is that you make them into complete sentences. Okay, so the Native American tribes in New York. All right, so I'm going to make sure that I have that into a complete sentence, kind of talking about what I'm going to talk about in this slide here, and then I'm going to list them. Okay, so here is my slide for this one here. I said the Native American tribes in New York are the Oneida, Seneca, Shinnecock, and Tonawanda tribes. Okay, so that is my information for this slide here. I'm going to put a picture on this one as well. Now, you don't have to if you don't want to, but remember, the whole idea is that you put 5 total pictures onto your slides. All right, where you put them is not, it's up to you how you want to do it, but make sure that you have 5 on your entire presentation. So I'm going to insert a picture here. I know that a couple of these tribes here are Iroquois, and I remember one thing about the Iroquois tribe is their longhouses. That is not spelled correctly, but that will work. We'll pick this picture here. It's in black and white. That is humongous. Make that a little smaller there. All right. So there we are. Native American tribes in New York put a little longhouse of the Iroquois. All right. All right. So that is that slide there, Native Americans. Let's move on to the next one. Look at slide number 5. What was the climate of your colony like? So go here. The climate. Okay. Climate of New York colony. All right, let's check it out here. Climate. All right. So remember here we have a couple different things. Here is the weather averages throughout the year. That's fine, but that's not really what we're looking for. We are looking for something a little bit more about the entire year. And so these people also ask, they'll give us some more information. Like this one here, the climate of New York City features a humid subtropical, some humid continental climate. We don't care about that. That's nonsense for us right now. What we care about is this gives the city cold, wet winters and hot, humid summers with plentiful rain all year round. All right, so what we're going to say is the climate of New York. Climate of New York included cold winters and hot summers. Alright, kind of similar to like what we have here in Minnesota, where our winters are very cold, our summers are very hot. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to insert a couple pictures here. Winter in New York. Okay. There's one there. Winter in New York. You can see here's Manhattan. It's that island that I showed you. Here is it's kind of the main skyscraper here. It is where the, if you know 9/11, that's where those two twin towers used to stand. Here's where they rebuilt a new one. All right. I'm also going to show summer, New York. Okay. Let's do this one. I like that one. This looks like it's in Central Park. Okay. You can see it's very nice in the summer. It's hot. People are in shorts. It's two very different kinds of climate there. We have cold winters, hot summers. Okay. Now, number 4 for today, but this is actually slide number 6 of our entire project. What kind of crops grew in your colony? Okay, so it's going to be something to look up here. Crops in New York colony. Alright, so looking here, it looks like there's a couple different kinds. Looks like a lot of different things that they would get in New York. Land, agricultural land, coal, furs, forestry, which means timber, so trees, and iron ore. However, it was known as the breadbasket colony because one of its major crops was wheat. Alright, so that's kind of the main thing that was happening here in the New York colony. Okay, so what crops grew in New York colony? And remember, you know, I'm talking about New York. You will pick your colony that you chose, but that's the one that I'm picking is New York. So, you know, I hate to, I'm bummed that I said this now, but we talked about the Native American tribes in New York. We talked about the climate in New York, and now the crops. If you picked a different colony, then talk about that one. Don't talk about New York. All right. So, New York colony grew mostly, okay, they grew mostly wheat. So I'm going to go and I'm going to find a picture. All right, I'll find a picture of wheat here. I like this one. It's a nice one. Growing up in South Dakota, this reminds me of where I grew up. A lot of wheat going on. All right, so New York colony grew mostly wheat. And wheat is something that you can use to make bread, to make flour, a lot of things. All right, and the last thing that we're going to look up for today, last thing is, was there slavery in your colony? So sorry. My cat is going crazy. All right, so last thing is, was there slavery in your colony? So I'm going to look up here, slavery. Okay. All right, when did slavery end in New York? It looks like slavery ended in July 4th, 1827. Cool. However, it does mean that slavery did happen in our in this colony here. Okay. If it had an end date, if there's a day that it ended, that means that it had to have started sometime too. All right. So this last slide here, I'm going to type in slavery. Slavery in New York colony. Slavery. Okay, so slavery existed in New York, but ended in what date did I say? I said in 1827. That was the year. Okay. So it's an important thing to know. Like, here's the thing: slavery is something that we look at today, and we say that was the worst part of our country, and it was. And and you'll learn about here in the next coming years about the Civil War and how that was really the fight about slavery and how states decided to leave our country because they wanted to keep slavery. And we think about how the states like New York, we think about like Massachusetts, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, those states that were right there kind of in the north, they were the ones who were fighting to end slavery. Okay? And that's very important. That's why Abraham Lincoln has become such an important person in our history. But those states that we think about how they fought to end slavery, well, they actually did have slavery. All right, so like New York was one of those states that really wanted to end slavery. However, we can see there was a time in their history that they did allow slavery. And so even we can look at these states that we look at and we say, wow, what heroes. We can still say they weren't perfect. All right, so even in New York colony, slavery did exist. It was ended in 1827. They decided that slavery was no more. Okay. Now, if you pick a colony that's in the South, you might find something a little bit different. You might find some colonies that ended their slavery way later. But we can kind of talk about that later. Okay. So, that is the rough draft of part 2 for our 13 Colonies project. Like I said, tomorrow we'll take these slides, we'll put them into a final copy to be ready to be graded. All right. So remember, 10:05 every day. I am available for help. If you need any help with this project, please show up. I am there to help you out. All right. Hopefully, I'll see you then.